Anyone can get married. That's not hard. What we're going to do is learn 10 secrets so we can find the love of our life and be in a passionate relationship forever. We know the statistics today aren't very good on marriages. Over half the marriages today end in divorce, and the other half that are still married, how many of them are happy? Well, if you had a guess, it's probably not too high. Maybe half at best, which means if you get married today, you have less than a 1 in 4 chance of having a happy marriage. What we want to do is get the wisdom so we can throw those statistics out the window. So, as my mom would say, if you got married today, oi, it's not a good chance. So, marriage today is at an all-time low. You know, when you stand in line at the grocery store and you read the magazines, they don't talk about all the great marriages. The only ones they talk about are the ones that are going through turmoil and divorce. There's a thing today in the world called the 7-year itch. Actually, it was a famous movie by Marilyn Monroe, but it's the idea that, you know, what started as a skin disease really is how long the average marriage lasts. And if you Google it, that's actually how long the average marriage does last, is 7 years. So I can give you all the information, I can give you all the advice that you can need to actually find the love of your life, but if you don't implement them, it's not gonna do any good. I mean, I can tell you how to have rock solid abs if you want them. You have to eat less food, do hundreds of sit-ups a day, go run, and you can, obviously, you can do it if you want. The risk is if you don't do it, you just won't have rock solid abs. That's fine. There's no downside to that. But if you go looking for a wife or a husband today and you find the wrong one, well, the risk is tremendous. There's tremendous downside potential that could last for generations. So it's one of the biggest decisions you'll ever make in your life. And you want to have the wisdom to make sure that you're making the right decision. I mean, you go drive a car and you spend months taking tests and practicing, and then still you only get a provisional license, and then you get a full license after a few years. I mean, this is the biggest decision you make. And there's no tests you have to take. I mean, you want to become a real estate agent, you have to study and take tests, and on the pass become a real estate agent. But to find someone to marry, there's no tests. Just like when you go to the hospital and you have a baby, they hand you your baby. The only thing they require is you have a car seat. That's it. They don't, some of them will teach you how to breastfeed, but basically there's no test you have to take, no license you have to get married and raise a family. So the first secret we're going to discuss today is define your terms. And what I mean by defining your terms is you have to have this, when you're dating and you're thinking about marrying someone, you have to have the same common terms of the word marriage and love. And you're thinking to yourself, you know what? I don't understand. Everyone thinks marriage is the same thing. Well, it's not true. Because your experience of marriage, your personal experience of marriage, only comes from your own experience, and their experience of marriage comes from their experience of marriage. So your experience of marriage might be from your home, God forbid you were your parents had a horrible relationship, and that's all you know. There might have been mistrust in their relationship, and that's carried down to you. Or you might have a family that has, wonderful relationship where the husband's always doting on the wife and the wife's always helping the husband. It's a wonderful relationship where the husband is always doing what makes his wife happy, and so she expects that her husband is always going to make her happy because that's what she knows. It's the same thing with him. He thinks, that his job is just to raise money, to bring the money home, and then come home and sit on the couch and watch TV, because that's what his father did. But she might think otherwise. So they have different expectations. Your only experience of marriage is from what you grew up in, or possibly maybe from a friend that, if you went to a friend's house. I remember I went to one of my friend's house all the time when I was little, and I knew there was an issue going on, and I didn't realize till I was like kind of a teenager that there was a drinking problem in the house. And that was, growing up when you're little, you don't know these things. And so that was the only experience I have. And then other experiences is from our world. We watch TV or movies. You go to a movie, we just see you're a little kid, and it's one of the worst things in the world. You send these little girls to like the Disney movies, right? And what is it? It's a woman in distress, and this beautiful prince comes and he takes her away, and they get married, and she buys Vera Wang dress and Louboutin shoes, and they get married, live happily ever after in a castle with 50 servants and 20 horses. Our expectations of marriage are completely warped. When I was dating my wife, we dated for like 8 months before we got married. She's beautiful and funny and a pleasure to be with, very insightful, brilliant. I mean, like, how hard was that? Was that difficult? That's easy, right? Anyone can do that. And then plus when you're dating, you want to know new things. Like, it's exciting because you're like, you want to know, you want to learn about them. You want to investigate them. You want to come closer. You're building something. It's very exciting when you're building something new. It's so thrilling. But guess what? That excitement ends. Then you get married. And that's when the work starts. You know, when you watch any romantic movie, what is the last thing they show in the movie? It's usually the wedding or having a baby or the first kiss, something like that. How come they never, in the romantic movies, how come they never show 20, 30, or 40 years later? Because it wouldn't be a romantic movie. It'd be a murder mystery. So we have these warped expectations that we go into a marriage. Everything's gonna be, and think about when you're gonna get married. Maybe you have friends that have gotten married. What do they spend most of their time on? They spend most of their time on planning the wedding. And how long was a wedding? A wedding max is 5 hours. Yet you're gonna be married for the rest of your life. You worry about the caterer and the dress and the shoes and the venue, who you're gonna invite, who's your A-list, B-list, C-list. And then you have this beautiful wedding. You've planned it out with the rabbi or the priest or whoever is gonna marry you, and the venue, and every detail's taken care of. And then the wedding's over. And then that's when the fun starts. So, what is a marriage? The definition I'm going to use is a definition I got from Rabbi Noach Weinberg, from my Rebbitzin, but you need to have your own definition. You can use my definition for sure, but you need to have a common definition. You both have to understand, before you get married, what does it mean to be married? What does the definition of marriage mean? So the definition I'm going to use is a union of two souls. And most people like to say, well, no, it's a partnership. You know, my father was into business. He was a real estate attorney, and he did lots of real estate deals. And he told me one thing. He said, if you're ever going to go into partnership with someone, make sure they have more money than you. Partnerships do work occasionally, but many, many times. You know where partnerships end up? In court. Because what a partnership is I have something I want and I need you to help me get there. So I have an idea and I want to start a business. Well, I need money. I have the idea, I have the product, whatever it is. I need your money. I need your sales techniques. And we come into a partnership and we build the company together. And then guess what? Once we succeed, we have buyout clauses. I can buy you out. You can buy me out. Partnerships rarely, they do work, but rarely do they work. Because I have something that I need and you need to help me get there. Where of a union of two souls is two people as one unit. How do we know this? If we go back to the Bible, the first man in the universe was Adam. And God put him in the Garden of Eden. And Adam noticed that all the animals were had animalistic tendencies. And he named every single animal. And Adam said, I want to have a mate. But I don't want to be based on animalistic tendencies. I want someone to be my soulmate. I want somebody that I can have more than a physical relationship to. I want someone that I can have an emotional relationship to. So God put him to sleep and took a rib out of Adam and made a woman out of the rib. So the person that we're going to marry is not someone like us. It's the missing piece of us. It's the person that's going to complete us as a person. If you want to marry someone who likes the same sports and likes the same toppings on pizza and likes the same movies and likes this, you don't need any more yourself. You already have enough yourself. You need someone that's going to complete you. So that's the definition of marriage, the union of two souls. The next we're going to discuss is love. What's love got to do with? What's love but a second-hand emotion? So there's a confusion between love and infatuation. Infatuation is a short moment of desire because someone has something that you want. When you love someone, you want to give to them without anything in return. Infatuation means they have something that you want. You know, if you ask someone before they have children, are you going to love your children? Of course I'm going to love my children. Why wouldn't I love my children? Yeah, but you don't pick your children. What if your children are like the bratty kids down the street you can't stand? You're still going to love them? Of course I'm going to love them. Of course. Yet, You don't pick them. You pick your spouse. Yet over half the marriages end divorce, and the other half are probably not even happy. What happens? Because you see the good in them. You know, there's an idea that when you love someone, you want to give to them without anything in return. And what do you want from your return? Really, you don't want anything from your kids. Can you imagine? You go to your 20-year-old son, and you go, you say, son, you know, I raised you for 20 years. Here's a bill, $382,000 plus interest. You can pay me over the next 10 years. That sounds crazy. You would never give a bill to your kid, right? Because you want nothing in return except one thing. The only thing you want from your children is a relationship. So the other problem with partnerships, I want to mention, is that when you are a partner, if the other person is not doing their share of the work, you either sue them, like you get upset. Why is this person coming to work on time? Why are they doing this? It's a problem because you feel like they owe your relationship a piece of themselves. But the problem is when you're married, is that we all bring unique items to the relationship. You can't put a value on. You can't put a value on raising your kids. You can't put a value what it takes to like keep the house clean and raise a family and go to work. There's too many parts that you can't place a value on. Like, you know, thank God in our house, you know, I like to cook. So when you read my, in my books, I mention food a lot. The book actually, I'm basing this class on, is called, a book called The 10 Secrets to Find the Love of Your Life. I wrote it in February, and I'm gonna explain to you how the book came to be. But the first chapter is actually called Define the Terms of Marriage and Love. So Rabbi Twersky mentions fish love, and I love this. He says that, he asked a young man, he goes, you know, why do you love the fish? You know, why do you eat so much fish? He goes, I love fish. And Rabbi Twersky says, do you really love the fish? I mean, if you love the fish, wouldn't you be putting it in a bowl beside your bed, taking it to the park for play dates, and you don't love the fish. You love the pleasure that the fish brings you. Real love is not what I'm going to get, but what am I going to give? When we give to someone, we are investing in ourselves into someone else. Since we love ourselves, ultimately we love ourselves. I hope you love yourself. That's a whole chapter in my book. If we love ourselves, because if you don't love yourself, you're gonna have a hard time loving somebody else. What I like to say is, you know, if you don't love yourself and you think, and this is very, very common, when people have some emotional problems, they don't love themselves, they don't like themselves, and they think, you know what, if I go out and meet somebody else and have a relationship with them, they'll make me happy. But you know what's gonna happen? Not only are you not gonna be happy, they're not gonna be happy, and it's gonna implode in itself and be twice as, and be worse. Not only you're not making yourself happy, you're making someone else not happy. So you first have to love yourself and be happy with yourself wherever you are in life. Else it's gonna be really, really hard to have a good relationship. People say when they're in a bad marriage, like, oh, let's have more children, that'll help. Yeah, how does that work out, right? Since ultimately we love ourselves, if we give ourselves to them, we ultimately love them. Because we love ourselves. The definition of love is the emotion that you feel when you recognize the virtues in someone else and you associate them with the virtues. The definition of love is the emotion that you feel when you recognize the virtues in somebody else and you associate them with your virtues. Let me give you a simple way. Everybody's crazy. Everybody. I like to say, for every beautiful woman walking down the street, for every handsome, gorgeous, you know, guy with muscles walking down the street, there is somebody that's sick of them. And that's the idea. When you fall in love with someone, God willing, you all fall in love, get married, have wonderful, wonderful, passionate marriage. And once you get married, you need to read my marriage book. There's a reason why you fell in love with them. Why did you fall in love with them? What happens? Why do people get divorced? Because they stopped focusing on the virtues. Everyone's got stuff. Everyone's got issues. You know, there's many of the issues that people have. Trust issues, lack of emotions, the inability to maybe not ability to trust. Everyone's got issues. And a lot of times you don't really recognize them, especially if you get married young. You don't know about your issues yet. They're still coming out. And this is where the idea of the class came out. I was in Fort Lauderdale one year for a trade show. And I was watching, in my hotel room, I was watching Chopped. Chopped is a Food Network show where 4 chefs have to come on and they have 10 minutes to make an appetizer. Then they get judged by the chef, by the judges. One of them gets chopped off, and the three of them have to make a main course. They have like 15, 20 minutes, and then the final two have to make a dessert, and then they crown chop champion. You win like $5,000 or $10,000. It was a nice show. It was very enjoyable. But what was really, really special about this show, and this is why I wrote this whole class, and we're going to talk about one concept in this class, and then when I give you future, the series gets going, we're going to get a little deeper into it. When they made the dishes, when they started the competition, each chef had to open a box. And in that box was very unusual, unique ingredients that most chefs have never cooked with. And they have a certain amount of time to make a dish with, and they have to use each of those ingredients. So they open this box, and they open up and they see snake meat or squid ink. Can you imagine cooking with squid ink? Chickpea powder, jicama. It's very, not crazy things, because chickpea powder I could use. I could see that one. But like, how am I going to use squid ink, right? How am I going to use snake meat? Really crazy stuff. And this is the same issue we have with marriage. We go into a relationship. We have our own stuff. We might not even know about it. And then we have to try to make a dish, so to speak, with somebody else. And then we get married, we fall in love, we get married, it's all beautiful, it's all wonderful. It's like a fairy tale, just like the movies. And then you have to open up their box. You get married, it's fun for a while, and then you open their box up, you start cooking with their ingredients, and you find out you don't know how to cook with them. Yet alone cooking with your own ingredients. And you have to make a dish together. And many times you struggle and you struggle. And many times you can work it out, but many times you can't. So that's where the whole idea of this class came from, the Chopped TV cooking show. And you don't want to get chopped off. You don't. You want to get married and be in love for the rest of your life. And you can do it. You just have to have the proper tools. Like I said, most people start dating without having any clarity of why they're doing it. And this is a big problem. We're going to discuss this later on. If you're starting to date and you're not sure why you're dating, if you don't have clarity, like, you know what, I do want to get married, but I'm not sure, so I'm just going to date for fun and see what happens. So what happens is, since you're not clear on why you're dating, you go in the dating world, and whoever happens to pay attention to you enough, that's the one you start going out with, because they're nice and they pressure you and like, okay, we'll go out. And you go out and you start having a physical relationship, and guess what? You think you're falling in love with them, when in reality, it's more of an infatuation. And now you're stuck, because now you have nobody else, and you get married, and you wonder why you have a hard marriage. Because when you were dating, you weren't clear about why you were dating. And if you were clear that you wanted to get married, you might not have gone out with this person. Because you're going to have a list of parameters you have to have in your relationship. And you don't have to get all of them, but you certainly want to get the ones that are the most important. And this is why there's so many bad marriages. So we're going to get into these 10 secrets. We dealt with number 1, which is defining your terms of what the word marriage and love mean. And as we get into it, we're going to talk about the 3-date rule. There's 4 questions that you have to ask yourself before you decide to marry somebody. Clarify your purpose for dating, which we went over a little bit. Beware the new face factor. Get off your tush, which means you have to get out there, because you're never going to meet the love of your life sitting at home. Change your perspective. If you want the right fish, you need the right bait. Many people put the wrong bait out there, and they end up with someone that they really don't love because they put the wrong bait out, You must love yourself, we discussed a little bit, and find your common purpose, which we'll get more into the Chopped TV cooking show. Because if you want to marry fish, marry salmon. Real love is not what I'm going to get, but what I'm going to give. When we love someone, since we ultimately love ourselves, when we love someone, we give to them, we're giving a piece of us. And since we love ourselves, we ultimately love them. Marriage is not a partnership. Because a partnership means you have something I want, I need you to help me to get there. And that's how many marriages work. I want kids, you're a guy, you're a girl, you can help me have kids, therefore we have kids, and guess what happens after they have kids? The relationship falls apart. They didn't have clarity on why they wanted to get married. Marriage is the union of 2 souls, and the person you're going to marry is the missing piece of you. They're the person that's going to complete you as a person and make you whole. They're not just like you. You don't need more of you. You have enough for yourself. Thank you so much for enjoying my first class on the 10 secrets to find the love of your life. And I hope to see you again.